Hello, I'm Sally Mellor, and today I'm bringing you our reading and my reflection from our passage, which is taken from the book of Matthew, chapter 23, verses 1 to 12. Let me read it to you now. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, so you must obey them and do everything they tell you. But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy loads and put them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Everything they do is done for men to see. They make their phylacteries wide and the tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honour at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted in the marketplace and to have men call them Rabbi. But you are not to be called Rabbi, for you have only one master, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth Father, for you have one Father, and he is in heaven. Nor are you to be called Teacher, for you have one Teacher, the Christ. The greatest among you will be your servants. For whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." Jesus is speaking here to the crowds and to his disciples, warning them not to be like the Pharisees. In verse 3, he says, "Do not do what they do." These were the religious leaders of the time. They would have had great influence, they would have been admired, and yet repeatedly in the Gospels we see Jesus giving them a really hard time. And I think that's probably because they had this authority and influence, and yet it's as though they had totally missed the point, as we see here in this passage. Their teaching might have been okay, but they were coming at it from the wrong place. They weren't leading by example. They showed disdain, not compassion for people. They didn't want to get their hands dirty. They enforced these high standards and they didn't help people in achieving them. They just made them feel guilty. And more than that, they wanted to make a show of all that they did, to seek glory for themselves rather than seeking to glorify God. It was all about show and not about what was going on in their hearts. I love particularly the Message translation of, I think it's verse 3. I've got it here. It says, "They talk a good line, but they don't live it. They don't take it into their hearts and live it out in their behaviour. It's all spit and polish veneer." It was all about what was going on the outside. More of a do what I say, not what I do type of leadership. A complete contrast to Jesus. Now we may not see ourselves as leaders in the way of the Pharisees, but we all are leaders in some kind of way, and we exert an influence on others in our lives, be that as a parent, a teacher, all sorts of different ways. And these verses challenge me and they challenge us to question whether we do matches what we say and believe. Who are we when no one else is looking? They also challenge us, I think, to question who we follow. Who is it that influences our lives? Are they credible? Jesus calls us to live completely different lives, but so much more than that. What I love is that he showed us exactly how to live in that way by the example that he set for us in his time here on earth. He wasn't afraid of getting his hands dirty. Literally think mixing mud and rubbing it on someone's eyes to heal them. He just overflowed with compassion as we repeatedly see him pour himself out for people during his ministry. And all through this time he had incredible humility, pointing to God, bowing to his will. He was that perfect example of walking the talk and practicing what you preach. As we lead up to Easter at the moment, and through this series of Lent, as we're looking and studying the book of Mark as a church, I just want us again to see that person of Jesus. I want to see him, that perfect example of integrity, authority, humility and compassion. That's the example that we want to be following. Let's keep him as the number one influencer and authority in our lives in the coming days and weeks, and let's grow to be more like him day by day. I hope you have a great day, and do just ponder on these words and keep that focus on Jesus and on the example that he has set for our lives. See you soon. Bye.